Hello, fourth graders. This is Miss Kovarik, and we are on Unit 8, Lesson 11 today, which is called My Life Hangs in the Balance. So we have some vocab. The first word is taunt. That is a verb, which means to make fun of or tease. A ringleader is the leader of a group that causes trouble or gets involved in illegal activity. Insolence means rude behavior or speech. Scurvy means mean or not worthy of respect. Hostage is a person held prisoner until another group or person meets demands. And depose is to remove someone from office or a high rank. So again, this is chapter 8, and it's called My Life Hangs in the Balance. After I taunted the pirate, Silver's men were itching to punish me. One stepped toward me, but Silver stopped him. "Stop there," he cried. "You're not the captain here. I'll teach you. Cross me, and you'll go where many a man's gone before, to feed the fishes." Silver's men stepped back, but an audible murmur rose from the other men. "No one lays a finger on the boy," Silver growled. After this, there was a long, uneasy silence. I stood straight up against the wall with my heart beating like a sledgehammer. Silver leaned against the wall with his arms crossed and his pipe in his corner of his mouth, as calm as could be. But he kept one eye on his unruly followers. The other pirates drew together at the far end of the log house and began to whisper among themselves. One after another, they would look up. But it was not me they were looking for. It was Silver. Eventually, they went outside, leaving Silver and me alone. "Now look here, Hawkins," Silver said in a whisper that was barely audible. "You're within half a plank of death. They're going to try to throw me off, but I'll stand by you through thick and thin. I didn't mean to. No, not till you spoke, but now I see what sort of man you are. You stand by me, and I'll stand by you. I'll save your life if I can, but if I do, it's tit for tat, Jim. You've got to help me out if I get into a sticky spot with the squire and your people. You've got to do what you can to save John Silver." I was bewildered. It seemed a hopeless thing he was asking. After all, he had been the ringleader from the beginning. I told him I would do what I could if it should come to that. "Then it's a bargain," he said, still whispering. "I'm on the squire's side from now on, and you and I will stick together." We sat in silence for a few moments, and then Silver continued, "While we're sitting here, perhaps you can explain something. Why do you suppose the doctor decided to give me Flint's map?" he asked. My face must have expressed complete astonishment. I could not imagine why Dr. Livesey would have given Silver the map, and I wondered if he had really had. Silver saw that I was surprised, but he did not press me for an answer. "There's a reason for it, no doubt," he said, shaking his head like a man who expects the worst. Just then the door opened, and one of the mutineers stepped in. Or, more like it, he was pushed in by the others. He was visibly trembling. "Don't worry, lad," said Silver. "I won't eat you. I know what's happening." The buccaneer presented a slip of paper to Silver. "The black spot," said Silver. "I thought so. They're fixin' a mutiny." Silver didn't waste a second. He called in the others. "Let's hear your grievances," he said. "Then I'll give you an answer." A pirate by the name of George Merry laid out the case against Silver. "You've made a mess of this cruise, John," he said. "You let the enemy out of this here trap for nothing. Then you wouldn't let us go after them, and, on top of it all, you insist on protecting the boy." "Is that all?" asked Silver quietly. "I'd say that's enough," retorted Merry. "Well now, look here," said Silver. "I'll answer these points one after another. I'll answer 'em. I made a mess of this cruise, did I? You all know what my plan was, and if we had stuck to it, we'd have been aboard the Hispaniola this night, every man of us alive, and the treasure stowed safely in hold. Now, you have the insolence to stand for captain over me, you that sank the lot of us." Silver paused, and I could see by the other men's faces that these words had not been said in vain. "You say this cruise is ruined," Silver continued. "By gum, you're right about that. We're close to being locked up, but there's one thing that may save us yet, and that's this boy. You scurvy dogs want to kill him? What sort of fool plan is that? Much better to keep him alive. Maybe you didn't know that there's a rescue boat coming to get these gentlemen, but there is, and when the boat arrives, you'll be glad we have a hostage to bargain with. Silver spat on the ground and went on. And as for why I made a bargain with the squire, well, look here. As he spoke, he pulled the map out of his pocket. Right here is why I done it. I looked and saw that it was the map with the 3 red crosses, the one I had found in the captain's sea chest. Dr. Livesey really had given it to Silver, but why? I could not imagine. The other mutineers were stunned, too. They leaped on the map like ravenous beasts. It was passed from hand to hand, one tearing it from another, and by the oaths and the cries and the childish laughter with which they accompanied their examination, you would have thought they were fingering the gold itself, already loaded safely on the ship. Yes, said one, it's Flint's writing for sure. Then there's hope in it, exclaimed another. Mighty pretty, said George Merry, but how are we to get away with the treasure now that the ship's gone? How are we supposed to get away? Silver barked angrily. You ought to tell me, you and the rest that lost me my schooner. But no, you can't. You haven't got the invention of a cockroach. You lost the ship. I found the treasure. Who's the better man? By thunder, I resign. You can elect a new captain if you fancy. I'm done with it. By this point, the men had changed their minds. It was the map that convinced them. Silver, they cried. Silver for captain. John Silver forever. So that's the tune, is it? Said Silver. Well, George, I reckon you'll have to wait another turn. Here, Jim, here's a curiosity for you. He handed me the paper the men had been given. I saw that one side had been blackened with wood ash, while the other displayed the word deposed. After this, Silver tied me up, and we all went to sleep. Well, except me, that is. I had trouble sleeping. As I lay in the darkness, I thought of the man I had fought that afternoon and my perilous position. Above all, I thought of the remarkable game that Silver was playing, keeping the mutineers together with one hand while grasping with the other after every way possible and impossible to save his miserable life. He himself slept peacefully and snored loudly, yet my heart was sore for him, wicked as he was, to think of the dangers that surrounded him, and the shameful fate that surely awaited him. The next morning we prepared to set off to find the treasure. During breakfast, Silver ate with Captain Flint on his shoulder and reminded the other men how lucky they were to have him as their leader. Aye, mates, he said, it's lucky you have Barbecue to think for you with this here head. Sure enough, they have the ship. Where they have it, I don't know yet, but once we get the treasure, we'll find out. Then we'll be all set. Thus he ran on with his mouth full of bacon, restoring the mutineers' hope and confidence, and perhaps repairing his own at the same time. As for the hostage, he continued, I'll tie a rope around his waist and keep him close to me when we go treasure hunting in a bit. We'll keep him like gold in case we need him later. By the time we set out, all the pirates were armed to the teeth. Silver had 2 guns slung about him, the great cutlass at his waist, and a pistol in each coat pocket. To complete his strange appearance, Captain Flint sat perched upon his shoulder, squawking odds and ends of sea talk. Some of the men carried picks and shovels, while others carried pork, bread, and water for the midday meal. I had a line about my waist and followed after Silver like an obedient puppy. We began to climb a hill, and the men plunged ahead. They were in excellent spirits. Some of them even ran. Silver and I followed, I tethered by my rope, and he plowing through the rocks and gravel with his wooden leg. We had gone about half a mile when one of the men gave a cry of terror. We ran forward and saw a skeleton on the ground. George Merry bent down to inspect the bones. He must have been a seaman, he said, for those scraps on his bones are bits of quality sea cloth. Aye, said Silver, you wouldn't find a bishop here, I reckon. But what sort of a way is that for bones to lie? It ain't in nature. The dead man lay perfectly straight, with both arms raised above his head like a diver. We stood and stared at the skeleton for a minute before Silver broke the silence. I've taken a notion into my old skull, he said. I think this poor fellow is a pointer. Get out the compass and take a bearing. Along the line the bones is pointin'. It was done, and sure enough, the bones seemed to be pointing the way to the treasure. I thought so, cried Silver. This is one of Flint's little jokes. Him and those 6 fellows was all alone here. He killed 'em, every man, and this one he laid down by compass to point the way. After a few minutes we set off again, but the pirates no longer ran. They kept side by side and spoke softly. The terror of the fallen buccaneer had dampened their spirits. When we reached the top of the hill and saw the spyglass before us, Silver took bearings with his compass. There are 3 tall trees, he said, and they are in the right line. Should be child's play to find the loot now. All right, here are your questions for reading. Number 1, how is the explanation that Silver gives the pirates for why he is protecting Jim different from the one he gives Jim himself? So, what did Silver say to the pirates about Jim? And what did Silver say to Jim? He said 2 different things. So Silver told the pirates blank. Silver told Jim blank. Look back in the text. What did he tell them in the beginning of the chapter about why they were protecting Jim? Number 2, of the 2 reasons Silver gives for protecting Jim, which do you think is more likely to be true? Support your answer with evidence from the text. So you're going to pick one of these. Was what he told the pirates true, or was what he told Jim true? So you're going to say blank is true because the text says blank. So you have to give me some evidence from the text to support it. Think about what kind of character Silver is and what his purpose is for keeping Jim around. Number 3, why do the pirates decide not to go forward with their mutiny? So the pirates decide not to mutiny because why do they let Silver continue to be captain? Why don't they take over and make someone else captain? Number 4, the following sentences include slang. Rewrite the sentences in standard English. So what Silver says here is not correct English. It is pirate slang. You're going to take what he says and you're going to turn it into what we would say today. Said Silver, you wouldn't find a bishop here, I reckon. But what sort of way is that for bones to lie? It ain't in nature. So you're going to try and convert that pirate talk to standard English and write it on the line. Number 5 is the last one for reading, and you're just going to put these events in order. So we've got 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and we have 4 events off to the side here. So you're simply going to read each event, use the text to put them in the correct sequence or order. All right, skills. We're going to start with some word work. So it says, in the chapter you read, my face must have expressed complete astonishment. Express means to represent or convey a feeling or opinion in words or actions. After my sister flawlessly performed her piano solo at the recital, she expressed complete joy and had a huge smile on her face for the rest of the day. So we're looking at this word express, which means to represent or to convey a feeling. So first of all, what part of speech is it? And then I want you to write me a sentence showing the meaning. So you're going to fill in the blanks. Blank express, blank when blank. I expressed happiness when I took a sip of my coffee. Miss Williams expressed excitement when she got a present on her desk. All right, so fill in the blanks there. And then the last part of skills is all going to be about these words here. So we have a root word and we have the affixed word. So care, which can turn into careful or careless. Help turns into helpful or helpless. Success, successful. Beauty, beautiful. Faith, faithful. Sense, senseless. Flaw, flawless. And end, endless. So you're going to fill in the blank with the correct word. Use the definition. And I also gave you a sentence to help you out as well. All right. So number 3, would you read my sentence and make sure that it makes blank? When her brother was nervous about trying out for the school play, she told him she had blank in his abilities. The list of chores on the fridge seemed blank. When I was struggling with math, my tutor was very blank and explained things in a way I could understand. When buying clothes, my mother always inspects the material to make sure there are no blank. They didn't understand why the woman would hurt someone on purpose. It seemed blank and illogical to them. 9, when we won our basketball championship, we felt like a blank team that had really accomplished something. When the neighbor ran over the toy left in the driveway, the boy knew he should not have been so blank. And then last but not least, you are going to practice your spelling words. So all the words are here. You will be tested on those coming up soon. And I gave you a definition and an example sentence. So pick one of those activities to prepare for your spelling assessment. And that is all for today. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye, Adams.